Though they are still popular today, there are still a lot of myths about muscle cars that need to be debunked in order for both fans and prospective buyers to fully understand and appreciate what muscle cars are all about. Myth 1. Muscle cars were only about straight-line speed. Powerful engines are one of the reasons muscle cars are celebrated often in the sheer thrill of straight-line acceleration. However, the misconception that muscle cars were solely about straight-line speed overlooks their sophisticated handling capabilities. But one thing you need to know is that muscle cars' performance is more than just raw power. These cars were built with a number of performance features, such as wide tires that provide better traction and stability, strong suspension systems that can withstand the strain of high-speed driving, and high-horsepower engines, often V8s, that produce remarkable torque. These components came together to provide a performance profile that was more comprehensive than merely drag strip ability. Advanced handling was considered in the design of some muscle vehicles. Vehicles such as the Chevrolet Camaro Z28, which had a high-revving small-block V8 engine, lightweight parts, and a specifically adjusted suspension system. The Z28 showed incredible agility on racetracks and twisty highways. Additionally, the Chevrolet Corvette, which is well known for striking a balance between speed and agility, had aerodynamic design components and an independent rear suspension. It was able to corner as well as accelerate because of this combination. The idea that muscle automobiles couldn't manage bends is disproved by these instances. Finding the right balance between speed and handling is essential to comprehending muscle vehicle performance. Engineers wanted to build cars that could confidently turn bends while also dominating a straight line. Tuning the suspension, which a lot of muscle cars had suspensions that could be adjusted, so drivers could customize their ride for various road conditions. Distribution of weight, which is efficient weight distribution, was essential for improving cornering and acceleration skills. High-performance braking systems made it possible for these strong machines to slow down swiftly and securely. This combination of traits shows that muscle cars were multi-purpose vehicles that could do more than just drive in a straight line. Myth 2. All classic muscle cars were gas guzzlers. A common misconception is that all vintage muscle vehicles use a lot of gas. However, that is untrue. The amount of gasoline used by various muscle vehicle types varies greatly. Various engine types were available for classic muscle vehicles. While some had small six-cylinder engines, others had massive V8 engines. It goes without saying that larger engines consume more gasoline, but not all muscle cars have them. Performance and fuel efficiency were better balanced in the entry-level versions with smaller engines. For instance, one excellent illustration of how different muscle cars may have different fuel efficiency is the Chevrolet Nova SS. Certain Nova SS models had large V8 engines that used a lot of petrol, while other models had smaller, far more fuel-efficient V6 engines. Depending on the engine selection, muscle vehicles may be both powerful and reasonably priced, as seen by this. But we cannot deny the fact that there are some factors that affect fuel consumption in muscle cars. Let me explain. A number of factors affected the amount of gasoline used by muscle automobiles, including engine size. Due to their bigger displacement and power output, larger engines often use more gasoline. Carburetors, which were less effective than contemporary fuel injection systems, were found in many muscle vehicles. Weight. Vehicles that were heavier consumed more gasoline since they required more energy to move. Aerodynamics. Many vintage muscle cars' boxy shapes were not aerodynamically efficient, which had a detrimental effect on their fuel economy. Contrary to popular belief, not all vintage muscle vehicles were notorious for having poor fuel economy. We can better imagine what it was like to drive these classic cars when we are aware of these nuances. Myth 3. Classic muscle cars were always expensive and rare. It's a popular misperception that vintage muscle vehicles were always expensive and difficult to locate, but examining past price patterns reveals a different picture. Many models were reasonably priced for the typical customer during the 1960s and 1970s muscle car boom. These automobiles' original market pricing weren't as high as some may believe now. For example, cars such as the Chevrolet Chevelle, which is renowned for both its performance and flair, were a popular option among automobile purchasers. Because the basic price of the 1969 Chevrolet Chevelle SS 396 was around $3,200, a wide range of people could afford it. Ford Mustang, in its first year of production in 1964, the Mustang, another legendary muscle vehicle, began for slightly over $2,300. Many working-class families could afford these costs, dispelling the misconception that all muscle vehicles were pricey from the beginning. The Chevrolet Chevelle is one example of a car that was intended to be mass-produced and accessible. Because of this strategy, they were less expensive than cars with restricted manufacturing. With a range of trim levels and engine options to accommodate varying budgets, the Chevelle was especially noteworthy for its adaptability. With its streamlined features that prioritize performance over elegance, models such as the Plymouth Roadrunner also catered to budget-conscious consumers. This tactic made sure that muscle vehicles were available to regular drivers as well as the rich. Talking about rarity and accessibility, here's my take. This wasn't always the case, even if certain vintage muscle cars are now highly sought-after collectibles. Limited manufacturing runs of high-performance variations are among the factors that contribute to their present scarcity. Over time, attrition brought on by mishaps or deterioration and the rising value that collectors placed on models that have been repaired or conserved. Nonetheless, a lot of muscle vehicles from the time period were manufactured in enormous quantities, guaranteeing that a significant number of people could initially afford them. Rather than being a feature shared by all vintage muscle cars, rarity in today's market sometimes refers to special model variations or exceptionally well-preserved versions. By dispelling these misconceptions, we may better understand how, in their prime, these cars became cultural icons without being exclusive or unaffordable. Myth 4. Muscle cars are inherently unsafe. The reputation associated with muscle vehicles is frequently that they are dangerous, yet this view ignores a number of important factors. Advanced safety measures for their period were standard on a lot of vintage muscle vehicles. Here are some safety features in muscle cars that most people don't know. Disc brakes on the front of numerous muscle cars, like the Ford Mustang and Chevrolet Camaro, were equipped with front disc brakes. These brakes decrease brake fade during vigorous driving and greatly increase stopping force. Don't forget to use seat belts. Although they became necessary in 1968, seat belts were available as an option on numerous muscle car models before that. Making seat belts available was a big step in improving passenger safety. Crumple zones and frames with reinforcement, in order to protect their occupants in the event of an accident. Several muscle vehicles had crumple zones and stronger frames. However, the assumption that muscle cars are all dangerous is a generalization that ignores these developments. While it's true that decades of advancements in automobile safety technologies have benefited current cars, historic muscle cars also included safety features to safeguard their passengers. It is easier to appreciate the technical work that went into making these legendary automobiles safer for their period when this misconception is debunked. Myth 5. All muscle cars are big and heavy. A common perception about muscle cars is that they are big, unwieldy automobiles. The truth is far more complex, revealing a wide range of muscle vehicle sizes. Although some versions did have large weights and dimensions, others were made with a lighter and more compact design. Muscle vehicles aren't always big and heavy. The industry offered a range of sizes to accommodate various performance requirements and driving preferences. This diversity gave drivers choices ranging from agile performers to heavy-duty powerhouses. For instance, the Chevrolet Nova is one of the best examples of a lightweight muscle vehicle, which is sometimes disregarded because of its modest size. For individuals seeking power without the bulk, the Nova offered an intriguing substitute thanks to its smaller frame. In comparison to its peers, such as the Ford Mustang, the Chevrolet Camaro is another exceptional car that offered remarkable performance in a comparatively smaller size. Muscle cars were more appealing than merely their sheer power because of their harmony between size, weight, and performance. By providing a variety of choices, manufacturers were able to satisfy a larger market, each of whom was looking for a distinctive driving experience. It is important to remember that although certain smaller muscle vehicles provide exceptional performance and agility, they may also present a unique set of safety issues. Smaller cars may be more vulnerable to crashes than bigger ones because of their weight and size, according to NHTSA research. Thus, these aspects should be taken into account by potential consumers while deciding between muscle vehicle models that are larger or smaller. Myth 6. Muscle cars are only popular in the US. Not just in America, but all throughout the world, people like muscle vehicles. Despite having originated in the US, these powerful automobiles have influenced automotive cultures all around the world. Muscle cars are a source of fascination for auto fans worldwide. Massive power, distinctive design, and booming engines appeal to a wide range of car enthusiasts. The American and Canadian automotive cultures are somewhat similar. At Canadian auto fairs and events, vintage muscle cars are highly valued. Automobiles that exhibit a common passion for performance and design, like the Ford Mustang and Pontiac GTO, regularly feature at these events. Muscle cars have a strong history in Australia that is comparable to that of America. Models manufactured in Australia, such as the Ford Falcon GT and Holden Monaro, have become legendary. These vehicles showcase Australia's distinct engineering prowess in addition to reflecting American influence. American muscle cars have a devoted following in the UK. These automobiles are the subject of several clubs and events. In order to appreciate their unique qualities, British fans frequently import vintage vehicles such as the Dodge Charger or Chevrolet Camaro. There are now chances for cross-border exchanges of ideas, modifications, and admiration thanks to the global community of muscle car fans. Online discussion boards and social media sites are essential for uniting supporters and creating a feeling of community, even in the face of geographical separation. This global appeal demonstrates that muscle vehicles are beloved icons within the broader global automotive culture and are not just an American fad. Myth 7. Muscle cars are difficult to maintain. Although muscle vehicles are sometimes thought of as being difficult to maintain, this isn't totally accurate. Upon closer inspection, you'll discover that many vintage models have very straightforward mechanical, making maintenance easier than you may think. Here are some simplicities in muscle cars. Naturally aspirated V8 engines, which are renowned for their mechanical simplicity, are found in many vintage muscle vehicles. These engines are simpler to comprehend and repair since they lack the intricacy of contemporary turbocharging systems and sophisticated electronic controls. Classic muscle cars usually have simple electrical layouts, in contrast to modern automobiles that are packed with complex technological systems. This ease of use makes troubleshooting easier and lowers the chance of electrical failures. Maintaining a muscle vehicle is no longer an impossible task when one realizes the intrinsic mechanical simplicity of many vintage cars and takes advantage of better component availability. Thank you for staying through till the end. Hit the subscribe button and don't forget to watch our previous videos.